Okay, so what's your
I
favorite
don't know
Pokemon?
how we went on a sex
I don't
worker
know.
tangent in the middle of what's your favorite Pokemon.
Welcome back to Not My Ghost, Not My Problem. I'm Jen.
And I'm Kelly. Today, we're heading into the water. Not the calm, familiar shoreline, but the deeper places where stories have been forming for thousands of years. This episode explores the origins of mermaid legends, the sailors who claimed to see something just beyond reach, and the modern encounters that still don't sit comfortably with explanation. Across cultures and centuries, the details change, but the pattern doesn't. Something that looks almost human, something that appears briefly and then disappears, and more often than not, something that feels aware. Because the ocean isn't just vast, it's largely unexplored, filled with environments we don't fully understand and creatures we are still discovering. And when you combine that with how often people, separated by time and distance, have described similar encounters, it raises a question that's harder to ignore than it should be. So grab your sea legs and keep your eyes on the water, because some things don't stay hidden forever. They just wait for the right moment to surface. How are you doing today, Jen? I know the answer to that question already.
Ah, I'm struggling.
It's been a day
It
for
has been a
Jen.
day. I don't even know the words to describe. It's not like a bad day,
Just a day.
just a day. Yeah.
It was a
I've
very
got some
busy day.
yeah, I've got some brain fog, so that'll be fun. I was given like a project last minute at work and had to work a little late to get that finished, but yeah, I don't know. My brain's just kind of shut down and it'll make for an interesting episode.
It will, but thankfully it's my episode, so your
Oh,
brain fog doesn't have to be like you don't have to be so on point for this episode.
that's true. I
Um,
saw if you saw me look away, I saw these my blinds move and Ellie was just at my feet, so I was like, what the hell? What's making my blinds move? But she very quickly jumped up there.
well,
So,
she looks like she's
and
trying to get your attention.
she wants on my lap.
Ah,
Mhm. Yeah, you having a good time there, Ellie? Okay. She wanted to be on camera. She's like, "Look at
well,
me. The whole
she's so
world needs to see
beautiful. She
me."
deserves to be on camera.
She does. And if you're just listening, go check out my really cute dog on YouTube because
Yeah,
she's really cute.
because you're
Look at
missing
that
out.
face. Oh, just squish face.
I had a long
Sorry.
day. Jen and I had an idea for an episode that we were trying to pull off by Thursday, and it ended up being a lot more work than either one of us had anticipated. So after spending about 6 hours yesterday and about 5 hours today, I finally had to tell her this is impossible to get
Yeah.
done by Thursday when we are recording what we were hoping to be this episode.
Yes.
So,
So stay tuned. Maybe
mhm,
one day in the future when we can get our shit together, which
maybe.
could maybe happen.
Then I went and I cleaned my house. My house is like I mean, it's not disgusting, but it's certainly the floors needed to be swept, the floors needed to be
Yeah.
vacuumed, the kitchen needed to be wiped down. The downstairs bathroom was kinda gross, so I did scrub that. But, um, and then I came up and got ready for tonight's episode.
Yeah.
Welcome to our scripted, unscripted banter.
Welcome. I'm going to just apologize in advance because I can tell I'm going to zone out a lot during this episode. And I apologize ahead of time
So,
because I'm
if
already zoning out.
ah, if you're new here, and this is your first episode, welcome. We both have ADHD, and, we're not always on our 100% on our game. Also,
No.
if you're wondering what scripted unscripted banter is, it is the portion of the episode where we just shoot the shit, catch up a little bit, see how each other's doing, check in as if we weren't already talking an hour before we hit record.
Yeah.
And then we ask each other. The scripted part of our scripted unscripted banter is where we come up with a question to ask each other. And Jen, you'll be very happy that you don't have to think hard about this one.
Very, very good.
An easy peasy one, has nothing to do with mermaids or
Thank
the
God.
episode.
Not that it
What?
hasn't anything to do with mermaids. Thank God that it will be easy because my brain needs easy.
I think it'll be easy, but now that thinking and knowing you, it might not be so easy because I have a feeling you're going to separate this into categories, and I just need you to go with your just gut reaction.
I don't do that very well.
Is your favorite Pokemon?
Oh. Oh. Oh, goodness. So there are so many. There are so many to pick from.
I know.
This is not an easy question. This is
not.
a
Do you want me to
very,
go
very
first?
hard question. Yes, you go first.
So and I thought about, listen, my kids grew up on Pokemon, but it was way after my time growing up. Jen is only 5 years older than my oldest child.
Yeah.
So I've not had a big Pokemon influence in my life. I don't play Pokemon Go. I don't. My boys made me watch the movies when they were younger, and
You played Pokemon Go briefly.
briefly, but not enough to really understand.
Because I remember
anything.
there's a Facebook memory that comes up every year that says Nick took us driving to play Pokemon Go and find hookers.
True story. Not find hookers to pay for their services.
Just to find them on the corners.
Right. Because we lived, well, Jen lived, and, we very close to Baltimore. And, hey, no shade, by the way.
No,
Ladies,
no.
make
And
your fucking money.
I also want to preface that this memory was 10 plus years ago. I do understand now the politically correct thing to say is sex worker, I believe, unless that's changed. So I was just saying what the post said.
Yeah. So
okay, so what's your favorite
Pokemon? I don't
know
how we went on a sex worker tangent in the middle of what's your favorite Pokemon. Well, actually, I just pulled it together because you know what my answer is? Squirtle. Do you know why? Because it has the word squirt in it. That's my answer. Squirtle, because it has the word squirt in it. Brought it around. Jen, what's your favorite Pokemon?
This is so hard because there's so many and I know them all so well. Okay. If I'm going basic, because I'm a basic bitch, let's face it. And I have to say that I grew up in the 90s when Pokemon was first around. So the original 150 Pokemon, I know them. I know them all. I always joke because both my parents and my aunt and uncle play Pokemon Go with me. And my parents and my aunt are really terrible at pronouncing the names. And I'm pretty terrible too, but one thing I will always correct them on is the original 150 Pokemon because I know how to pronounce those names. Whereas the other ones I tend to just kind of, make shit up as we go as well. I'm very honed in on the original 150. So I would probably original 150 have to go with Growlithe.
No idea who that is, what it looks like, what it does.
There is a picture of him up on the screen now. He is a dog fire Pokemon, which
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, growing up, my favorite Pokemon was actually also Squirtle. That was the one, because he's one of the
Was it
original.
because
like,
it has squirt in the name?
It was not. I was like 8, Kelly. Calm down. It was.
Hey man, I don't know your life.
It was so when you played the original, really when you play any games, you get a starter Pokemon, and you always get to pick between 3, and you either pick a water, fire, or grass Pokemon. And I always picked Squirtle. Occasionally, I would go with Charmander because I do love Charmander. He's really cute. I'm just realizing that they're like Charmander and Arcanine are both fire, so maybe there's something there. Or
Maybe.
Growlithe, not Arcanine. My brain, it's not working today. Oh, I remember what I was going to say earlier.
Okay.
Before the scripted, unscripted banter question. I was going to say that it will be interesting because for the next 3 weeks, we are recording 2 episodes a week instead of our usual one. So I want to put it in everyone's minds to see if our episodes are any different, because I'm just curious if maybe we go off on less tangents or get distracted less when we are talking to each other more. Because we'll have less stuff to remember to tell each other, right? Like if we're talking for a couple hours twice a week, like I feel like we're gonna maybe, who knows? So the next several episodes for the month of April and May, yeah, just let us know. Let us know if you notice anything. I just want to point it out.
No mistake that we spoke for about 45 minutes before we hit record, and we will likely talk for an hour after we're done recording as well.
Yeah. While I'm actually, and I also, another thing I meant to say, but brain fog. Speaking of it's funny that you asked the Pokemon question, because I just bought the Nintendo Switch and I'm playing the new game Pokopia, and it's basically and I don't know if you know what any of these things are, but people are comparing it to a crossover between a Pokemon game, Animal Crossing game, and Minecraft.
Okay. I know what Minecraft is. Because I raised 5 kids, it's impossible for me to not know what Minecraft is. That's will fair. Say that I reached a point with my children that when they would come to talk to me about Minecraft, I finally had to tell them, sorry, I've heard all I'm ever going to be willing to hear about Minecraft. I am done with Minecraft.
Well, your kids
and they're like, but Mom, it's really cool. And I'll be like, no. Go tell your sister the cool thing. Mommy's done with Minecraft.
Your kids used to watch videos of people playing Minecraft, which was like very early in that ever being a thing. And at the time, like I did not understand it. I'm like, how is this entertaining? Like, go play the fucking game. Why do you want to watch somebody play the game? Now, obviously, it's a little bit more popular, and I can see the use of it for.
Well, I mean, I used to tell them that, like, why wouldn't you just go play the game when you could actually do it yourself? But then I would watch home renovation shows. I'm not renovating my house.
That's fair.
I know it's early in the episode, y'all, but wine break. How about you just drink your wine and I'm going to read us some facts?
Sounds like a plan. I can't promise that I'll pay attention to all of the facts.
Today's facts are about the ocean. Fitting for mermaids.
Yeah, that's logical.
Sunlight only reaches about 650 feet below the surface. Everything deeper than that exists in permanent darkness.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy.
Think about it.
We're talking about a place where light has never touched. Well, I guess maybe when the oceans were forming, maybe. I'm not quite sure how all that works throughout time, but
I don't remember the exact quote, so I can't say it, but that made me think of the Lion King when Mufasa is showing
everything
Simba,
that the light touches.
Everything that the light touches, is yours. Yeah, that's the quote. Thank you. I just I got the quote. It was like a half autistic quote stimming moment where I was like, I know there's a quote here. I just
right. So, I mean, if you think about it, probably
Kelly.
Yeah? What? Oh, I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Suck it, Posey. I was thinking the other day about her, and I was like, if she doesn't like the way that we do the podcast, why doesn't she do it better?
Yeah.
Start a podcast, do it better.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
Yeah. Back to our facts. For billions of years, I'm assuming light has never been down there. So it's for all intents and purposes for us, light has never touched there. And
Yes.
light exists in space, but in our oceans, there are places where light has never been.
Yeah. Hey, Neil, can you come on and explain it to us? Neil deGrasse Tyson,
Neil,
please be a guest on our
please.
podcast and explain sciencey things to us.
We would specifically like to know about the formation of the Earth, and if in the deepest parts of our oceans where light never reaches, if light has ever reached there.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Because that's what we were just talking about. So
It was, yeah.
Jen wasn't paying
That's good.
attention because she's not all the way here today. But Neil, please.
Neil, please reach out.
We can get into other stuff too.
We can.
Yeah.
That would be so fun. Like, I'm not even like, I know we do this and we tag and clip and hopes to get like popular people on our podcast for us, but like, you know, like listeners, ghosties. I don't know why I called you listeners. Ghosties. You know that we love science. Like you see, especially like I feel like I bring science into this a lot. And to have Neil deGrasse Tyson come talk to us about sciencey stuff, like dreams.
It would be amazing. Our second fact.
Yes.
The giant squid can grow over 40 feet long. It was once considered a myth.
Ooh.
We've only ever captured a few on camera. For a while, when we first started seeing that it's Elias.
Elias
We first
agrees.
started seeing that they might be real. It was because, well, we first started seeing they were real is we would find dead ones that were like washed up on shore. And it took several years after that to actually capture one, a living one on camera, which is pretty crazy.
That's what's crazy to me when people are like, there's no chance about these cryptids being real, because like there is. Look, I'm not saying that every sighting of a cryptid ever reported ever is factual, right? The majority of them are misidentified animals or hoaxes. But just because that's the case, that does not mean that there have not been an occasional sighting like the giant squid.
I feel like it's a little different when you're talking about deep sea creatures because we don't have the freedom to roam the deep sea. Like
Okay,
we
so what
do
about
have the
Nessie?
freedom to.
I know
Well, I
Nessie's
don't know
not
about
deep
Nessie.
sea,
I
but
don't know.
Nessie is in a very deep lake that is impossible to fully explore.
Right. And maybe Nessie's real. I don't know. But when you're talking about like a deep sea animal, it's a lot harder to walk around. It makes sense to me that there's life down there that we have not yet discovered.
Oh, absolutely. We've only explored, I don't know
Whereas,
for sure, but like 10% of the ocean sounds about
right.
right. That's
But when you're talking about land cryptids, we have the ability to be out on the land. And I
right. But
feel
what
as
if it's an endangered, something that's endangered or would be considered endangered?
no, that's
And the majority of sightings are, like I said, not real, because people, oh, it's just Bigfoot. People all know what Bigfoot looks like, right? So how many of the sightings are like misidentified animals or a hoax
or
versus like the
aliens.
handful, or aliens? Yeah.
Neil, if you're listening to this, and we know that you are, you saw us
Hi,
tag
Neil.
you in that last one, and you would like to weigh in with your thoughts on aliens, we would love to have that discussion with you as well.
I would love to talk to you about aliens, Neil. Can we do an episode on aliens with Neil deGrasse Tyson? Like 10 out of 10.
10 out, not 10 out of 10. Are you fucking kidding me? Infinity
Okay.
out of infinity.
It would break the scale. There is no
Well,
rating. Like,
our third and final fact is some predators don't need to see you. Sharks can detect electrical signals from your body even if they can't see you, meaning they can sense you before you ever know they're there,
yes.
which is terrifying.
It is, but sharks get a bad rap. Like they're
I have a
just trying to
tangent.
live their life.
So, whenever there's a shark attack, especially, or not even just a shark attack, but like a shark sighting in Ocean
Yeah.
City, people are like, oh my God,
Well,
Ocean City,
freak the fuck
Maryland.
out.
Like,
Yeah.
there was a shark seen off. Like, yeah, it's the fucking ocean. And it
Right.
reminds
You're in
me
their
of this
home.
video of this older, I don't know how old she was. She's probably, honestly, I saw it years ago. She was probably a little bit older than I am now. But she was like, why are you all shocked when there's a shark attack? And she goes, you went in the shark's house.
Yeah.
You went in the shark's house. She goes, if a chicken walks in my house, it's going to get ate. You went in the shark's house.
Maybe sharks have stand your ground laws. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe. It's hard to say.
Their weapon is just their teeth, not a gun.
Right. All right. Let's get into this episode. You ready?
I am, yes, maybe, kinda. Let's go.
Long before mermaids became the beautiful long haired figures we picture today, they existed in a much older, stranger form. Something less polished, less romantic, and often far more dangerous.
Yes.
One of the earliest known references to a mermaid like being comes from ancient Assyria around 1000 BCE. The goddess Atargus was said to have fallen in love with a mortal man. In some versions of the story, she accidentally caused his death. Overcome with grief and shame, she threw herself into a lake, hoping to transform completely into a fish and
Why? Why a
disappear
fish?
from the world. I don't know. I didn't write the story. It's just
Okay.
the story.
I wasn't sure if there was a reason. Like, again, I might be asking a lot of questions because I'm also zoning out.
Yeah, I
Because
don't
brain
know.
fog. So I was wondering if maybe you had said something that would have made sense as to why she wanted to be a fish. Because
Mm-mm.
personally, I'd probably rather be a bird.
Okay, well, she chose to jump into a lake and try to completely transform into a fish.
I would rather jump out of a tree and try to completely transform into a bird.
Well, her transformation didn't fully take. That might be a
Shocker.
problem if you jumped out of a tree. Instead, she became something in between human and fish. Human from the waist up, fish from the waist down.
Maybe that's how
This is one,
Mothman came to be.
maybe.
Maybe he wanted to be a moth and
So he threw himself
he
into a
was
light.
he was a god and threw himself into a light and he became something in between.
Maybe.
Mothman solved. We have a new origin story.
God damn, we're good.
We are. We're just out here solving all life's mysteries.
So this is one of the earliest recorded examples of that specific hybrid form, and it sets the tone for what mermaids would become. Not fully human, not fully animal, and never fully understood. As time moved forward, similar beings began appearing in completely different parts of the world, often with no direct cultural connection. In ancient Greece, the idea of an ocean dwelling humanoid evolved into multiple forms. While the sirens were originally described as bird like creatures, later retellings blurred their image into something more familiar, part woman, part sea creature. But what stayed consistent wasn't their appearance, it was their behavior. These beings were said to lure sailors with their voices, drawing ships off course, leading men into the water, or causing fatal distractions. And then something interesting happens. As you move across the world, from Europe to Africa to Asia, you start seeing the same pattern repeating, but with different names. In West African traditions, there is the Mami Wata, a powerful water spirit often described as a woman associated with rivers, oceans, and wealth. She can bring fortune or destruction.
Okay.
In,
Very
in
different.
Slavic, yeah, in Slavic folklore, there's the rusalka, and they are said to be the spirits of women who died near water. They're often described as beautiful but dangerous, luring people to their deaths just beneath the surface. In Japan, there's the ningyo, and they are often described as less like beautiful mermaids and more like strange, almost unsettling fish human hybrids. In some stories, eating their flesh grants immortality, but at a cost.
I guess that's wouldn't te- technically be cannibalism. But
I guess it depends
would
on
it?
what part you're eating. which half
Mm,
which half you're eating.
Right. But like they're not human. And cannibalism is eating a human eating a human. So even though they're part human, that's that's something that science hasn't really touched on because we don't really have part human creatures in real life.
I don't know.
Now I'm just thinking about whether or not that would be classified as cannibalism.
Well, I'm going to need you to stop thinking about that because in Scottish folklore, the selkies aren't exactly mermaids, but they share something important. They exist between two worlds. They can shed their seal skin and become human on land, but they are bound by the ocean. Across all of these stories, the details differ some, but the core elements don't. They are tied to the water. They appear human, but not quite. They interact with people often unpredictably, and encounters with them rarely end normally.
It is interesting how like a very similar story with noticeable differences, of course, but like just in general the similarities of the stories throughout cultures. That's what always makes things more intriguing for me, right? When something exists across cultures
Mhm.
and history. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just wanted to
And
note that.
when myths repeat across cultures that had no
Well,
contact with each other, there are usually two explanations. Either human beings are naturally drawn to the same types of stories, or those stories are rooted in something people believed they were actually experiencing.
ding 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 ding. That one.
There's also something else worth noticing, though. The tone of these early stories isn't whimsical. We're not talking Ariel singing on a rock and finding her Prince Eric.
No.
No, we're thinking more Ursula.
Yeah.
So it is a cautionary tale. Many early mermaid and water spirit legends were used as warnings, especially in coastal or river communities. They could be warnings about dangerous waters, unpredictable currents, or the risks of traveling too far from shore. But instead of explaining those dangers scientifically, they were personified. The ocean wasn't just dangerous, It was watching. It could choose. It could take.
You like to
Turning,
do
well,
water-based things because you did
I do.
La Llorona too.
And I am also such a water baby.
You are.
I don't fuck with the ocean though. Now, when we go to the ocean, like I'll get in the pool at the hotel, but I don't like to be in the ocean. Okay, specifically, let me rephrase. When Nick and I went to Pensacola and we were on white sand beaches with crystal blue water that I
Yeah,
could see what was in
same.
the water, I
Yes.
was fine. But
Perfect. Fantastic.
the waters in Ocean City, Maryland are not crystal
No.
blue waters.
No. Even the waters down here in St. Augustine, Florida, they're somewhat clearer than they were Maryland, but they're still
Right.
I don't
But
really do
that's still the
beaches here.
Atlantic, right? So when you're
It is, yeah.
I was in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes, yes.
The
That
Gulf
water definitely
of Mexico. And that water is beautifully crystal blue. And you can see right down
beautiful.
to the bottom of it. And I was fine in
Yeah.
that water.
That's how
But
the
I don't like
Bahamas are. And I'm a
yeah, I
big
would,
fan.
yeah, I'm fine with that. Turning natural danger into something human-like does something very specific. It makes it easier to understand, but a little harder to ignore. You don't
And
argue
easier
with
to
the
be
ocean.
afraid of.
Right. And you don't argue with the ocean.
No.
But you might hesitate if you think something is waiting in it.
If you've seen Moana, you know that you don't argue with the ocean.
Now I'm singing the You're Welcome song.
It's a great song.
I'm not big on Disney movies, but my granddaughter Blossom has loved Moana since she was very, very little.
Great
And it's so
movie.
cute to watch it because when they're singing and dancing, she'll like do her
Mhm.
hands like the ocean moving, and she's very sweet. I don't
You have
know
to
if I've
watch
told you all
the
this, but I have two beautiful granddaughters, and God, do I love the
it
fuck out
does.
of those little girls. Yeah. What will I have to watch?
The live action Moana.
Live action.
Yeah, they're doing a live action Moana.
Hmm.
And you know who's playing Maui?
I don't know, but as happy as you are right now, I'm going to see if I can guess. I'm going to say The
There's
Rock.
only one. Yes, I was going to say there's only one answer. He does the
Right.
voice of
Oh, I
Maui.
didn't know that. I didn't know he did the
You
voice.
you didn't
No, I
know he
didn't.
did the voice
No,
of Maui? Yes, he is the voice of Maui.
I had no idea. But
Wow.
I saw that
Okay.
smile on your face and I was like, must be The Rock.
It is. It is. I'm
It
real
is.
excited.
We are back from our wine break, potty break, lipstick break. I need all three of
Tangent
those in a
break.
graphic, by the way. Tangent break. All four in the same
Fuck
graphic.
you.
In the same graphic.
I hate you a little bit.
You love me.
Just a
And you
little
know
bit
it.
right now. You're just giving me too many
Hey,
graphics
didn't I
to
make your
create.
life a lot easier on Thursday?
What?
This coming Thursday, didn't I make life a lot easier by telling you you don't have to kill yourself trying to pull this episode
Oh.
together because it's not going to happen?
I mean, I guess a little bit, but now I have to find like actual paranormal postcards and put them in the episode. So either way, it still work.
Well, at least we don't have to write the paranormal postcard.
That's true.
Elias agrees.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Over time, the image of mermaids begin to soften. Soften? Why did I pronounce the T? Why did I pronounce the T?
Because it's Silent Letter Day. The stand-up routine. Google it later. It's hilarious if you've never seen it.
I have not, so I did not know what you were talking about, and I considered for a moment the possibility that it may very well be Silent Letter Day, and I didn't wanna say, "What the fuck is that?" It appears stupid, but here I am outing myself as stupid anyway.
It's a stand-up routine. I don't know the comedian's name. I apologize, but it's really fucking hilarious.
Well,
That's so weird. I cannot believe that they're touching that bell. Um, but yeah, go just watch it at some point because it's
I will.
hilarious.
Remind me when we're done.
Yeah.
The image of mermaids began to soften. By the medieval period and later European folklore, mermaids were sometimes portrayed as beautiful, even romantic figures, curious about humans, capable of love, and sometimes even tragic. But that softer version did not erase what came before. It just kind of covered it. Because even in those later stories, there's almost always a warning hidden underneath. Loving a mermaid often ends in loss. Following one leads away from safety. Hearing
Yeah.
one means you're already too close. Maybe mermaids didn't become less dangerous. Maybe humans just became more willing to ignore the danger,
Or
as
stupider.
long as it looked beautiful.
That tracks. Because it's,
That tracks. Yeah.
let's be real. When we say humans here, we're not talking about humans. We're talking about men.
Right. You don't hear a lot of stories about lesbians getting taken in by a siren.
Right. That's because women are smart and men are
I don't
controlled by
think
their
that men
penises.
I don't think that men are not smart, but I do think that their penises override their cognitive
I
abilities
did. That's why I
often.
said what I said. I did not say
Yeah,
they were dumb.
but we can't
The
say all.
majority of men are ruled by their penises.
As these stories spread from ancient myth into recorded history, they didn't stay confined to legend because eventually people stopped just telling stories about mermaids and started claiming they had actually seen them.
Manatees.
So, this is where things kind of start to blur because now, instead of stories passed down through the generations, like I said, we are starting to see now firsthand accounts. In 1493, during his voyage near the coast of what is now the Dominican Republic, colonizer and terrible person Christopher Columbus recorded seeing 3 mermaids rising out of the sea. But what stands out isn't just the sighting, it's his reaction.
For those wondering why Kelly was laughing, if you're not watching, I was just flipping off Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. So, old Chris, he wrote that they were not as beautiful as they've been painted. It suggests he believed he was seeing something real, just not what he expected. And Columbus,
Why can I picture those fucking words coming out of the mouth of the goddamn president? I saw the mermaids. They weren't as beautiful as they've been depicted.
I thought their tits would be huge, but they weren't.
They weren't huge. They were actually pretty small. Melania's tits, they're much bigger.
Have you seen Melania's tits? You know, him with his dementia. That's kind of the shit he would say now. Yeah. Yeah, I could totally see Trump saying that.
Yeah.
Um and Christopher Columbus. But Columbus wasn't alone. In the early 1600s, crew members sailing with Henry Hudson reported spotting a creature in Arctic waters.
Ooh,
According
that's
to their
interesting.
account, yeah, it had a human like upper body, long dark hair, and pale skin. When it dove beneath the water, they described its lower half as distinctively fish like. I guess mermaids would be paler because they spend a lot of time in the deep ocean.
Yeah, you wouldn't really think you'd have a well, I
A
mean, I guess it
tan.
depends.
On
If
how deep.
they're like right, because I know, like, when I go snorkeling used to go snorkeling when I could afford to travel, um, I would get, like, sunburn on my back all the time, but it would be, like, right below the water, so I would like, I guess it just depends on how
Well, I'm
deep you're
assuming
living.
that they can go to the a lot deeper than where the
Well,
light
yeah,
reaches. Yeah.
yes, but the question is do they?
I don't know. Let's ask Ariel. How deep do you
Yeah,
think her grotto was?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Call up Disney.
Do I have to? So we're starting to see it now, like what Henry Hudson's crew reported is no longer written as folklore. And it's starting the trend of recorded history with Christopher Columbus and then Henry Hudson. Now we're having a recorded history moment.
Yes.
Similar reports continued across centuries, figures surfacing briefly, tracking the movement of ships, or disappearing just out of sight. Some sailors described prolonged sightings, watching these figures for several minutes, noticing details like facial expressions, arm movements, and even eye contact. And that's where things get a little harder to dismiss as misidentification. Because quick glimpses can be explained away, but extended encounters, those are the ones that keep the mystery alive. And while it's easy to question what sailors saw out in the open ocean, it becomes a lot harder to explain when similar encounters start happening much closer to the shore, where the water is calmer, the air is clearer, and the witnesses are standing on solid ground.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Out to sea, it's easy to question what people think they saw. Distance distorts things. Lights play tricks. The mind fills in the gaps. But when sightings happen closer to land, where visibility is clearer, where people aren't isolated or exhausted, the explanations start to feel a little less straightforward. And that's where modern mermaid reports become harder to dismiss. One of the most widely talked about cases comes from a small coastal town in Israel. In 2009, multiple witnesses in Kiryat Yam reported seeing a strange figure in the water near sunset. According to those accounts, the creature appeared human on the upper body with long hair, arms, but when it moved away, it revealed a tail similar to a dolphin or a fish. Witnesses claimed it performed small jumps or flips before disappearing beneath the surface. What made this case stand out wasn't just the description, it was the number of people reporting it. Some accounts came from families, others from tourists, and over time, their stories spread enough that the town even offered a reward for the possible mermaid. No definitive evidence was ever produced, but the sightings didn't come from just one person. And then there are reports that don't come from curiosity, but from disruption. In 2012, during construction work on a dam in Zimbabwe, workers reportedly refused to continue after claiming they encountered mermaid-like beings in the water.
Wow, that's recent.
Yeah. According to reports, these encounters weren't brief. Workers described repeated disturbances, figures appearing in the water, movements that couldn't be explained, and an overwhelming sense that something was present beneath the surface.
Okay, but this was 2012.
Hmm.
So I mean, I guess I don't know what life is like over in Zimbabwe. Do they have smartphones? Did they have smartphones in 2012?
Smartphones were newer in 2012.
I mean, it's newish, but
What,
like,
2007 they came out? Yeah, I guess.
yeah,
I don't
I
really
mean,
know because I was thinking that, like, when I was looking for evidence, I was specifically looking for video evidence,
yeah,
and I could not find anything. I could not find anything. Technically, I think the 2009 incident, there would have been smartphones as well, although less
yeah,
people probably had them.
yeah. But by
I know this because
2012,
I remember when you and I were both in the paranormal group that we investigated with. We had a meeting and we were going over the schedule and everything. And Don, who was a guest on the podcast, said, "So since we all have smartphones," and I was like, I I I don't have a smartphone. And he was like, "What?" I was like, I don't have a smartphone. And then not too long after that, I made Jen help me get my first iPhone.
yes, and then I had to teach her everything.
And every iPhone I get, well, not really. I'm
Well, not
okay
really.
most of it
You're pretty
now.
good now.
But
Yeah.
it took quite a few iPhones to be like,
Unless
"What am I doing? How is this?"
unless I'm trying to teach her a new skill, like to use a shared photo album or something, then I got to walk her through a lot of shit
Didn't I figure that out?
with my help.
There was something that you thought I would need your help on that you were going to look up, you were typing out the instructions and then I just
Yeah,
did it.
I
But I
don't
don't
remember
remember
what it
what that
was.
was.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
I am old, but I try.
She does try.
Yeah. So the situation escalated to the point where traditional leaders were brought in to perform rituals meant to calm whatever was beneath the surface.
Hmm. I wonder what those rituals are.
I don't know. From a skeptical standpoint, this does raise questions about cultural influence, belief systems, and environmental stress. But they weren't describing a myth, they were describing something they believed that they had experienced. We are back. Sorry.
Yes, we are back. Ellie's barking apparently. We really don't know where we left off. So we're attempting. It was a long tangent. We got wine, we peed, we talked about podcast logistics, and then
Right.
remembered we were recording an episode.
I would like to say that we logged on around 5:30. Not to start, we didn't start recording at 5:30, but we logged on around 5:30. It is now 8 p.m. As you can see, the light in Jen's apartment, like it was daylight when Jen started, and it is now dark outside.
Yeah. It's getting
Yeah,
dark. There's
so
there's still some light. There's still some light
some,
here coming
but
through.
it's getting dark.
It's
There's still
getting dark.
some light with me too, but it's definitely, I think here it's more dark than not.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway,
back to the episode. In other regions like Scotland, they follow a quieter, more unsettling pattern. Over the years, there have been scattered accounts of humanoid figures seen along remote shorelines, often described as sitting on rocks, partially submerged, or moving just at the edge of visibility. Unlike dramatic sightings, these are brief. a figure seen for a moment, a shape that doesn't quite match anything normal, and then it's gone. Witnesses often describe the same feeling afterwards: not excitement, not curiosity, just unease.
Hmm.
Because these sightings don't necessarily behave like animals, they don't flee immediately. They don't act predictably. They just kind of linger long enough to be noticed. And that's where modern mermaid encounters start to shift a bit. They're not just stories about something beautiful or mythical, they're stories about something that feels aware of your presence.
Hmm.
Witnesses often report being watched. Some describe movement that feels intentional, not instinctual. And I thought that was an interesting distinction between intentional but not, because like an animal would act instinctually,
Yeah.
right? Whereas a human acts with intention.
Yeah.
Any sea life would act instinctually. So encounters frequently end with the figure disappearing just before it came to be completely understood. And that's the difference between seeing something and feeling like something is seeing you back. And many of these accounts fall into that second category of something seeing you back.
Hmm. That's interesting. Interesting way to put it.
Yeah. Because if it was just misunderstood animals, you would expect randomness. But instead, what keeps showing up in these stories is consistency, not in appearance, again, in behavior. Something that stays out of reach, appears briefly, disappears, and leaves the person questioning what they saw long after the encounter has actually happened. And while these modern sightings raise more questions than answers, some of the more unsettling accounts don't come from distant shorelines or viral stories. They come from ordinary people sharing experiences they weren't planning to have and still can't fully explain. So I did find one out of out of the entirety of Reddit. I
I know
found
you were gonna
one
I thought you
story.
were gonna say the entirety of the internet. I'm like, Kelly, how can you well, really, same thing, Kelly. How can you search the entirety of Reddit? Because it's
I
pretty
read
big.
other stories of Reddit that sounded obviously fake.
Yeah. And we're back from I don't even know how to describe like the 40-minute tangent we just went on, to be honest with you. We're sorry. We told you this was going to be a rough episode. I apologize. And Kelly, pick up wherever you think you might have left off
I was
and
getting
hope that it
ready.
makes sense.
I was getting ready to read you the only Reddit story I
That's
could
right.
find that didn't sound completely obviously fake. Now,
Yes. Good
again,
job. I
this is
remember now.
username deleted.
Of
Um,
course.
and there's no video or photo evidence, but out of
Of course not.
like some of the shit that I read, people were saying they had a sexual encounter with a mermaid.
Okay.
Like people were saying a lot of shit out there, okay?
I mean,
Um,
Kelly, if you had the opportunity to have sex with a mermaid, wouldn't you?
how would you? Their bottom half is fish.
I mean, but they have to have reproductive organs somehow, right?
But is that compatible with human reproductive organs? Like if you said I got a blowjob by a mermaid, okay, upper half human. I just don't
I
know
don't
how the logistics of
I know
intercourse would work.
I know I act like I have a dick, Kelly, but I actually don't have a dick.
Yes, I know.
So it would be very hard to get a blowjob from a mermaid.
Would you? No, I'm not saying you. I'm
I mean, I
saying
don't
if
have a
a
dick, so
Reddit,
no.
not you, doofus. If a Reddit story said they got a
Okay.
blowjob from a mermaid, at least that is something that can, like, a mermaid has an upper half, they have a mouth. Okay. But when a Redditor tells me that they had intercourse
I don't know.
with a mermaid,
I've heard stories out there that people have had intercourse with animals. So dolphins
animals,
being one
yes.
of them.
Fish?
Dolphins? Well, dolphin is a mammal, but wouldn't technically, I would feel like a mermaid would also be a mammal.
I don't know. I don't know if they would, because it's not half human, half
Well,
dolphin. It's half human, half fish.
fish, but do they give live birth? Do they
No.
breastfeed?
Well, we don't know. We don't know
We
how.
don't know.
We don't know
I
the
like how you were
reproductive.
just like so confident. No, mermaids do not give live birth.
No, I'm thinking fish do not give live birth. Fish lay eggs.
Yes, but humans give live birth. So
They do. And historically speaking, the sightings are half human, half fish, not half human, half dolphin.
that's true. But when they say half
Listen,
fish, they
I
think
love
about
you.
the
I
tail.
love you. I love you with everything in my being. Every bone in my body loves you. You are my soulmate. If I wasn't married, you would be my life partner. We would be married. I love you. You're beautiful. You're everything I could ever hope for in a human being. But I just want to read this Reddit story so we can finish this episode. Is that okay with you?
No, because now I have to know
Okay.
whether a mermaid is a mammal or not.
Alexa, is a mermaid a mammal?
Mermaids are mythical creatures from folklore, not real animals. So while they're often depicted with human-like features, they don't fit neatly into our biological categories.
Alexa, if mermaids were real, would they be a mammal or a fish?
If mermaids were real, they'd likely be classified as marine mammals. They'd need lungs to
There you
channel
go.
sails and warm blood to keep their tails from getting too chilly.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexa.
Glad I could help solve the mermaid mystery.
Now, can I read this Reddit story?
Yes, Alexa decided that mermaids would be mammals. So go on. My autistic brain
I
is at
tell you
rest.
this, in your next episode, in your very next
Oh,
episode,
know
I
where your
will
brain
derail
went.
it to take
The
over,
mammal
and I will
classification
read
totally
you
makes
one of
sense.
those stories of
Nurse their young and have that full warm-blooded thing going on. Plus, imagine trying to explain gills to a pediatrician during a checkup.
My A device heard me say its name and just started talking. So
I will say that in your next episode, I will derail it to read you one of those stories.
Sometimes
where
I hear my
it's-
name in a most creative place. Like when someone says I like a, or even just clears their throat in a particularly melodic way. My bad for jumping in uninvited.
Tell it to stop.
I think it's good now.
Perfect. Glad we got that sword, bro.
Alexa, stop fucking listening to me.
Got it. Turning off the microphone now so you can have some peace and quiet.
Oh, God.
I assure you, I will derail your next episode to read you one of those Reddit stories where the human being had sex with said mermaid.
Okay. Please do.
I don't know when we're recording that.
I'm not telling you because I don't
No.
want you to derail my episode.
Can I please read this story?
Yes, please go on.
It was titled The Singing in the Dark. This happened about 5 years ago while I was on a night fishing trip with my brother. By the way, this was posted in 2018.
Okay.
We were out on a small boat not too far from shore, maybe a mile or so. It was one of those quiet nights where the water is completely black and the sky feels way too big. Around midnight, we both heard something. At first, it sounded like humming, soft, almost like it was coming from under the water. We kind of laughed it off, thinking it was just a boat or maybe the way sound can carry at night.
Yeah, that was my thought. Like the boat, the hum of the
Right.
engine.
But it got louder and clearer, and it wasn't humming, it was singing. I can't explain the language. It didn't sound like anything I recognized, but it had a rhythm to it, almost melodic. And the weirdest part was that it didn't feel threatening, it felt calming. And I thought that was an interesting distinction because if I'm out on sea and I hear something I can't see singing, I'm going to be fucking freaked out.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right.
Yeah. There's no non-threatening nature of a disembodied voice while in the
Right.
middle of the ocean.
And I am assuming that they have eliminated all sources of like there's not a radio on the boat anywhere
Yeah.
or anything like that. I remember standing up without really thinking about it, just kind of drifting towards the edge of the boat like I wanted to get closer to the sound. My brother grabbed me hard and snapped me out of it. He said, "Stop it. I know what you're thinking. He said I had this blank look on my face like I wasn't really there. The second he pulled me back, the singing stopped. Not faded, stopped. Like it had never been there. We
It's called
didn't say anything.
disassociation.
We didn't say anything for a solid minute. And then he just started the engine and we left. We've never gone night fishing there again. And we've never talked about what almost happened if he hadn't grabbed me. So this sounds obviously, stop it. This sounds obviously more like it was a siren, but sirens and mermaids can be very
Yes.
intertwined.
Yeah. Was it her biological brother or her stepbrother?
This is a man. I assume this is a man.
Oh, why do you assume it's a man? I assumed it was a woman.
I assumed it's a man because sirens reach out to men. In folklore, that's what sirens do.
That's true. Maybe the siren is a lesbian. It's possible.
Right. Now, do you want to hear some skeptic views?
Of course.
Okay. Obviously, there have never been any verified evidence of aquatic humanoid creatures. Although there was
Did
a
you
fake
ever? Yeah,
documentary.
that's what I was just about to ask. I was like, did you
Right.
ever watch that fake documentary? Because when I watched it at the wee early 20s, I'm imagining that's when it came out when I was in my early 20s. I was like on board. What the fuck is this government cover up? There's fucking mermaids. And then I remember like hearing about it a couple of years later that it was fake, and I was
on
sad.
board up until the very last moment of the documentary where they showed it, and then I was like, this is bullshit.
Where they were in like a tank and you saw like the hand and like half of its face, and yeah.
No, it was when the one on the beach. When the one on the beach looked up,
Oh,
that's when I was like,
yeah.
this is bullshit. Like the
Okay.
hand, maybe. I don't know. The
Maybe.
government can do a lot of shit that we don't know about.
Yeah.
So at first I was like really on board. Then I saw the hand and I was a little like, I don't know, maybe. And then I saw the thing on the beach and I was like, this shit ain't real.
No, I was in my early 20s, so I thought it was all real. And I was like, fucking mermaids. Like they were just fucking proven. Why are we not talking about this? And then
Right.
I found out it was fake. I was very sad.
So the most common explanations come down to misidentification, obviously. Manatees, dugongs, seals, animals that, under the right conditions, can appear almost human at glance.
Which I will say for those, it's only if you're catching the tail. Like you're not confusing a human torso and body and head for a fucking
Maybe
manatee.
you are. Maybe you are.
I don't think you
So
are.
if you add in low visibility, light distortion on the water, and how fatigue and isolation can affect the human body, and humans are wired to recognize faces and bodies. So seals have forward facing eyes like humans do. And if you think about like a manatee just kind of like peeking out of the water, it could look like the shape of a head.
I disagree.
But
I disagree.
You have to factor in that you are out at sea, there's low visibility, the way that light distorts water, all of this combined can make things appear what they are not.
And I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to ask Kristen. How far out are manatees spotted?
I have no idea.
I don't think manatees are like out at sea.
But you don't have to be all the way out at sea. They can be just a mile off a shore. And that mile off a shore is lower visibility for us. The way the light, whatever light is there, is hitting the water can distort the way things look, can make shadows look differently.
I don't buy
If you are out at sea, you have the fatigue and the isolation involved in that. But humans are wired to recognize faces and bodies. So when something unfamiliar appears, we tend to reshape it into something that we understand. So if you just saw a manatee pop up, it could look like a head and shoulders to you, and your brain can fill in those gaps. We see it all the time.
Yes, we see it in places where our brains are programmed to recognize humanoid figures. My brain personally, I don't know about everybody else's, would not expect to see a humanoid figure in the middle of the fucking ocean.
It's not that your brain expects to see it. It's that your brain sees something and it fills in the gaps to what the pattern of that thing could be. And also, may I point out that you are autistic.
God damn it. I don't know what that has to do with sucking mermaids, Kelly, but
it gives your brain a unique perspective of to what you are expecting and what you are seeing.
Very fair. Good point.
Yes.
Good point.
When something unfamiliar appears and our brains start to reshape it into something we understand, sometimes that could look human. Now, of course, the believer's perspective is that the ocean is still largely unexplored, with vast areas that remain completely unknown to us.
Yeah.
Some argue that it's not impossible that an undiscovered species could exist, especially one adapted to deep or remote environments. There's also the consistency of reports. Across centuries, people who have had no connection to each other describe human-like upper bodies, fish-like lower halves, and behavior that seemed aware, but not instinctual.
So question then, if your brain is filling in the gaps for the upper body, why is your brain telling you that its lower body is fish?
I don't know. I think that most of the reports, I don't know. Because most people they say they see something like come out of the water or sitting on a rock and that
Yeah.
it appears humanoid. Maybe it's that what might appear humanoid at first glance, when it then like goes to swim in the water and then the tail comes up, that's like, oh, that's a fish. Or a,
So the only you said that they're confused for dugongs, manatees, and seals. Seals are
some.
yes, but dugongs and manatees don't sit on rocks. As far as I know. Seals are the only ones that will like
I am saying
sit
that
on
that's what the
rocks.
skeptics say that people
Oh, I
are
know.
mistaking these things as. Now
And
I'm talking
I
about what believers say.
okay. And I'm saying fuck the skeptics because
Okay.
mermaids are real.
So the believers are saying that there are correlations here that all sound the same, like human like upper halves, fish like lower halves, and behavior that is aware, not just I hate the phrasing instinctual, I guess, because instinctual doesn't mean aware. I
Right.
think it's more that it's the intention behind it, that they are intentionally trying to communicate something with you, or behaving in a way that seems intentional rather
Yeah.
than just how, like, if a fish sees something, it just swims away to get out of danger.
Right.
So it becomes not about necessarily what people saw, but how often the stories repeat themselves and how similar they appear. And that brings us to the end of this episode about mermaids. Stories that have drifted through history for thousands of years, carried across oceans, cultures, and generations. Some of these accounts can be explained, light, distance, and the way our minds try to make sense of the unknown. Others fall into that space where exploration feels incomplete, where the details line up enough to make you pause. Because whether it's an ancient myth, a sailor's journal, or modern encounters along quiet shorelines, the pattern is always the same. Something appears, something watches, and then it's gone before it can be understood. So maybe the real question isn't whether mermaids are real. Maybe it's why so many people standing at the edge of the water have had the same feeling, that they weren't alone, and if something is out there, moving just beneath the surface, how close would it have to get before we finally believed it?
If you loved hanging out with us today, consider leaving us a rating or a review, please, because it helps a lot.
Please, please, please. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Not My Ghost Podcast for even more chaos.
And if you want bonus episodes and extra spooky perks, like all of the bloopers and behind the scenes, we can't even call it a blooper reel anymore, y'all, because it's mostly just the behind the scenes tangents. It's not
Well,
like even us messing up.
it's behind the scenes plus bloopers.
Yes, you get
Yeah.
both of that once a month. And every month we've been doing them since January. And every month they just keep getting longer because
We keep getting more
our
ridiculous.
ADHD keeps getting worse, apparently. So go join our Patreon at patreon.com/notmyghost, not my problem, and join our lovely, amazing community because it's pretty awesome.
And we can't wait to see you there.
We can't because you're really missing out.
You are. Do you have a creepy encounter? Email us at notmyghostpodcast@gmail.com and you might hear it featured on a future episode.
And if you're not already watching this on YouTube, and you want to see all the spooky chaos and nonsense and me knocking things over randomly on my desk because I talk with my hands, go watch us on YouTube because it's all there. And just subscribe and leave us a comment because we don't get a lot of comments and we're lonely.
We are. Thank you for joining us on this haunting journey through mermaid legends and sightings. As you wander along the shoreline, keep this in mind.
If it's not your mermaid,
It's not your problem.
until next time, stay spooky.
And stay skeptical.